In this part, I'm introducing the presentation of PPE. Usually, PPE is one of the largest assets of firms, so it has great impacts on the firm's financial position and income statement because of depreciation expense. So the firm should disclose their depreciation expense in the note. You may be confused why in the note, why not in the income statement? Because some depreciation expense can be capitalized as part of the inventory. So if the machine is used in the production. In the income statement, sometimes you may not be able to find the depreciation expense item or account. Next one is the balance of assets should be reported by their nature and function. Because same assets, if they are used for different purpose, they have different impact on the firm's operating. They accumulate depreciation. Usually you will find both depreciation expense and accumulated depreciation in the notes together. And also the firm should disclose what method used in computing depreciation. Let me show you some examples. This is Walmart's financial statements filed to SEC. It does not report property, plant, and equipment in their notes directly, but you can find it in accounting policy. In the accounting policy, property, plant, and equipment policy, you will see the information. Walmart reports its assets in different categories, and different categories have different useful life and different balance. And also, you can see the accumulated depreciation reported in different years. At the bottom of this note, Walmart reports the depreciation and amortization together. 2020 was 11 billion. 2019 is 10.7 billion. 2018 is 10.5 billion. The assets are generally used straight-line methods. This is Tenke firm of Pfizer, one of the largest pharmaceutical firm. In their notes, we can find the property, plant, and equipment. This is similar as Walmart, so you can always find the information in their notes. In Pfizer's balance sheet, we do not have the information about the depreciation. Actually, the firm report the net book value of property, plant, and equipment. So to learn about the accumulated depreciation and the depreciation expense, you have to look up the notes. The next one is how to analyze property, plant, and equipment. Actually, in chapter 9, we use inventory turnover ratio to analyze inventory. Similarly, we use another turnover ratio, PPE turnover ratio. Property, plant, and equipment turnover ratio is based on the fundamental definition of turnover, the sales divided by average assets. Inventory turnover is different. We use cost of goods sold rather than sales. We remove the effect of markup. And based on this definition, this is 74,000, that's sales. This is beginning and ending balance of total assets. So assets turnover is 0.56. This is a total assets turnover ratio. For different assets, we can define different turnover ratio. If we change the average assets into average cash, we get cash turnover. If we change to accounts receivable, we can get accounts receivable turnover ratio. If we change to property, plant, and equipment, that will be PPE turnover ratio. And turnover ratio is a measure of a firm's ability to generate sales. The denominator is assets or resource. Numerator is revenue. The purpose of the firm to have resources is to generate revenue. So this actually shows a firm's ability by using its resources. So greater turnover ratio, that means the greater efficiency. Another one is profit margin. So profit margin is defined as the bottom line of income statement net profit divided by the top line of income statement net sales. So we have this information. So the profit margin of this firm is 22%. Profit margin shows a firm's ability to generate profits from a particular level of sales. The ability to generate operating profits from certain level of sales can be affected by two factors. One is whether the firm has the bargaining power over the price of their products. The other is how the firms manage their costs. So if they can lower their costs, they can also earn decent profit margin. They can also increase their price without losing any market share. They still can earn a very good profit margin. So there are many factors determine these two values. In general, if a firm has great profit margin, that means this firm is more competitive. Why we introduce these two ratios? Because a very important profitability ratio we call return on assets or ROA. Okay, return on assets is profit divided by total assets. In this case, it is 12.37%. We actually can split ROA into turnover and profit margin. So this is a relation between ROA and profit margin and assets turnover. And net sales can be cancelled, net profit divided by average assets. So the profitability of a firm is determined by two factors. One is the ability to earn operating income from certain level of sales. That's profit margin. The other is the firm's ability to generate sales from its assets or resources. If a firm wants to increase their profitability, they can either increase profit margin or asset turnover. So in this case, actually for the firm, the 12.37% is a product of profit margin and assets turnover. In reality, firms may not be able to achieve both high profit margin and asset turnover. Different firms adopt different strategies. Firms like Walmart, their profit margin is low, but they have very high asset turnover. We know Walmart's product is cheap. Their profit margin is narrow, but their asset turnover is very high. For some firms, for example, like Tiffany, their profit margin is very high, but their turnover is very low. They probably can make thousands of dollars just from a pair of engagement rings. Probably their jewelries take months or years to be sold. Some firms may achieve both high profit margin and assets turnover. The good example is Apple.